So Urban Meyer, he was talking about what it takes to win in college football these days. And he said he had a conversation with Ryan Day about this because we saw what Michigan did a couple years ago. We saw what Ohio State did last year. And we saw what Indiana did this year. And he says there's one common theme.
I think that the template has all been set now. The Big Ten's won it 3 years in a row. Most mature veteran teams. The Wolverines did it. The Buckeyes did it. I actually talked to Coach Day about that yesterday. We talked before the game, and he mentioned that everybody is now – that's it, and everyone's talking about it. How do we get a locker room of grown-ass men that's been through it? As opposed to coaching that 21-year-old, Mark, is a much different cry than that 18-year-old. You got a grown-ass man with experience that understands the game.
So Urban is saying he wants grown-ass men who understand the game, which kind of goes back to our discussion, Tyvis, about college football and college basketball, where, hey, why don't you go get NBA players to play in college basketball? Those are grown-ass men. Why don't you go get guys who have some eligibility left for playing the NFL on a practice squad? But he is saying that's where Ohio State's focus this year in the transfer portal was to go get some older players who maybe don't have the best resume or who aren't the biggest talent out there, but they've played college football. They've played every coverage that they would play, so they know what it means when Matt Patricia pulls them aside and says, this is what we're doing now. They don't have to have that explained to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just been how, whether you want to believe it or not, I just feel like that's where the last three national champions have all had the same recipe. You know, it's been guys who've had a ton of experience that came back and played again. You know, starting with the Wolverines, they did it. They had a bunch of 5th and 6th year guys. When we did it, we had a bunch of 5th year seniors that came back. And then last year or this year with Indiana, Kirk Cignetti just loves to go get guys that's been 24, 25 years old still playing football. So I think that experience is something that you can't necessarily get out of a young guy unless it's a blue chip guy like that could come in and that was just really coached well out of high school. There's going to be hard to make an immediate impact. So you need guys whose bodies have fully developed that can handle the trenches and stuff like that, because that's where the game is still won and lost, is in the trenches. No matter what anybody tells you, you have to be able to dominate the trenches. And Indiana and Miami was the two most dominant in that regard, and that's why they ended up being in the championship this year.
Yeah, I feel like that is I don't think Urban Meyer's wrong on any of that. I think that's explaining a little bit of why Ohio State's portal strategy is what it is. Mm-hmm. This is why you and I, at least I've been saying, I think you're with me on that I'm not paying any attention to high school recruiting anymore. Like, as far as...
Depends on who they get. Like Chris Henry
Jr.,
yes.
Sure. Okay, I want to get like 4 or 5 guys who are absolute stud lucks, number 1, number 2 guys in their position.
They would have to come in and play immediately.
Well, but I mean, like, if you tell me they got the number 3 safety in college, in like high school football, great.
He better be playing immediately.
You tell me they get the like number 1 defensive end talent, great. That's all good. But like, well, we've got 7 4-star
that's irrelevant.
Safeties and corners, so we think, don't care.
It's irrelevant.
I'm with you. I don't care.
They come in here to be developed for 1 year, then going to get paid somewhere else.
I'm with you on that.
That's the way I look at it.
And I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to, now it's going to be weird watching college football, because how many times, at least is how I watch it, I watch college football and go, damn, we missed on that guy. Wish he would have come to Ohio State. Not anymore. Now it's just like, what? Start making a list.
All we got to do is
check it twice.
No, really what it is that, like, so for this upcoming season, like, obviously you're going to have Jeremiah Smith, Chris Henry Jr., and Brandon Ennis, right? But at some point, we're going to see guys rotate in there. And the thing that's going to come through, that's going to hit my mind is, okay, that receiver goes in there. Let's say it's, I don't know, let's throw a name, Phillip Bell. Let's say Phillip Bell goes out there and we see him a couple of times and here he makes some plays. Usually we get to the end of the season like, oh, don't worry, we got Phillip Bell next year once Jeremiah's gone, and then we'll look at the recruiting and say, oh, we might got the number 1 receiver coming in, like blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'll be thinking. I'll see Phillip Bell make some plays and I'll say to myself, well, somebody going to pay him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
somebody gonna pay him, and he probably won't be here next year. So
that was literally what happened with Quincy Porter this year.
Yeah,
Quincy Porter was a guy that played, flashed, and then got hurt. I mean, and then I was like, next year he's going to be awesome.
Remember, Mylan Graham hit the portal, and everybody said, "Don't worry, we got Quincy Porter."
And then
we don't.
No, I think you're going to see a totally different strategy with the high school recruiting. Like, what'd you have, like 23, 24 in the class this year? I think you're going to see somewhere around like 15 from now on.
Probably.
And it's probably going to be like, you got to get some, you're going to see a lot more of like 3-star dude from Ohio that loves Ohio State that wants to play here, and a lot less 5-star dude from California that they're going to give a bag to come all the way to Ohio.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine if the recruiting rankings in high school football, because number one, these high school football recruiting rankings anyway, I've always been skeptical of them, but I've always been yelled at by people be like, you've got to have the top 7, top 8, top 5 class. And it's like, oh, okay. But like Nick Saban even said, is like, who are the guys making the stars? Answer, no one knows. Or if we do know, we don't know if those guys know it any better than anybody else. These are guys that are looking at tape from one player who may be playing against inferior competition, another guy who is playing some of the best competition in college, in high school football, and both of them have a 3-star rating, but one of them may have gone through a gauntlet. The other one may have been like literally a guy who can't play. But that's up to your eyeballs, and that's up to these coaches to scout that and figure that out.
The interesting thing that I want to see is like, so Ohio State goes out there and let's say they recruit the 3-star guy. Because I said earlier, I was like, the 3-star guy is probably more important now because you should be able to get him, develop him, and he shouldn't have a high interest, like as far as like people wanting to pay him a bunch of money. I want to see if that's really true, because is it guys? So if you get a 3-star guy and you develop him for 1 year, and he decides to hit the portal, is he more valuable because he was in your program? Is that what it is? Or is it that, no, he's not as valuable. He's not going to make a bunch of money, so you'll be able to keep him around and continue to develop him. It's very interesting to say that, because I look at like some of the guys that transferred out of here in this past round, and there's some 3-star guys that all are finding homes and all of that. So even the 3-star guy, that just because you went to Ohio State and you got coached up by some of these coaches makes you valuable. And that to me is, I don't know how you keep guys on the roster.
Well, there's probably also going to be a little bit of, like you see with NFL teams, where they're going to say, hey, we play this team next year. We have them on the schedule. Why don't we go get this wide receiver who barely played for them, but he knows their offensive schemes. He can help us read stuff. Like, that type of stuff will happen too. I'm sure there are guys who it's like, we think we can develop him, but also he knows what they're doing. And maybe we want him to come over to Wisconsin or something. If Wisconsin's playing Ohio State, yeah, we want some info on what's going on there. I don't know. Those are things that I'm quite sure with the large roster sizes that they have, that could be possible as well. One other thing to keep in mind, and I saw this brought up multiple places, because Jesse Minter took the Baltimore Ravens job. Mm-hmm. And what did Jesse Minter used to do at one point, not too long ago?
DC with the Wolverines?
Yeah. What year was that? At least one of the years he was there. They won the national championship when he was their when he was their defensive coordinator.
22 and 23.
Yeah, he was there for, I think, both those years. But
he left with Harbaugh.
Yes, he did. Now, obviously, we know they cheated part of the time he was there, right? But you have pointed this out. In 2023, that was all done. I mean, that was all known. If you were getting scammed at that point by Michigan, then that's on you, right? Like, if you weren't changing your signals for them, if you weren't changing who's sending in the plays, that's on you. They did win that championship, legitimately or not, however you feel about that, with a guy at defensive coordinator who is now a head coach in the NFL, let alone the other guy who was coaching, who was also a head coach in the NFL, right? In Jim Harbaugh. Last year, Ohio State had a defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles who, say what you will about his personality quirks, coached everywhere, knew how to coach up a defense, had been doing it for a million years, and Chip Kelly, who had been an NFL head coach and had coached college football at a high level, had coordinated offenses for decades. This year, you had not NFL-level coaches yet, but I guarantee you if either of those Indiana coordinators wanted to go get a job in the NFL, they'd have a line of teams waiting to sign them up. And I'm saying, like, that might be part of the key, too, is who you get as your coordinators. Who's on your staff. Ohio State has Matt Patricia. But this is why, to me, I'm still so focused on who's going to be the offensive coordinator. If it's someone who's got that level of experience, NFL or a lot of college football, either way, someone that Ryan Day can say, you handle that, I'm going to manage the team. I'm going to focus on big picture. All those guys, Ryan in that year, Jim Harbaugh got to do it, and Kurt Cignetti certainly does it. They don't have to go in and hold these guys' hands in the offensive or defensive meeting rooms. You know what I mean? Like, they can just focus on being the executive. That's what you need this year for Ohio State. That's another big piece to it for me.